Alrighty, Hacksters, we are cruising into the new week with a new unboxing. This is the SparkFun thing plus Matter, also called the MGM 240p, named after its wireless module. So we're going to dig into this. Matter is the new protocol that was open sourced last year. You can download the spec. It is designed for smart homes and other applications that want to be robust, secure, and really easy to set up. So all the whole design of the spec is so that you can connect Apple and Google and DIY devices, all of them talking to each other on a home network. They don't have to be over Wi-Fi. It could be Wi-Fi, Ethernet, or Thread, which is where this board comes in. It's for building your own devices that use Thread to talk to each other, and so it's more resilient. You don't have to deal with Wi-Fi or Ethernet. But all that also makes it very much faster than relying on wireless. You don't have to talk to anybody's cloud. It can all be local. It's beautiful. This particular board, let's take a look at it, is going to be set up with SiLabs Simplicity Studio. So not Arduino in their getting started guide, but it should be pretty easy to set up. I've already installed Simplicity Studio on my Mac, and it was a painless process, I promise. And I'm going to be installing the drivers to get it set up with this board. So what we have here is the SparkFun Thing Plus Matter MGM 240p. Let's get it out of its little bag. We've also got some extra little goodies from SparkFun, including a USB-C cable, which is what this uses to connect to your computer. And we're going to take a little tour first off. So let's get a little closer focus on this so we can really take a look. One moment. Yes, more focus. More focus. There we go. Beautiful. All right, so a jolly red board, as we've come to expect from SparkFun, with its name of the wireless model, the MGM240p, on here. This guy here is a Simplicity connector, which is for debugging. You can use either GPIO pins or this connector for debugging, but only one of them at a time because they use the same connections. So there's a lot of stuff for that in the Simplicity interface. We might take a look at that later. There's also, you might notice there's a ton of different jumpers on this board. You've got ones for charging, you've got ones for a shield, and we'll go through those. They're detailed in the hardware overview for this board on SparkFun's site. But yeah, let's tone this down a little bit so we can see a little better. There we go. All right, less glare. SparkFun and Silicon Labs collaboration. This is a feather footprint, so it will work with any shields that are developed for the SparkFun Thing or Thing Plus range. These will work with those, as well as Adafruit feather footprints. So you don't have to redesign everything. You can use breakouts for those as well. You've got a LiPo battery breakout. There is, as I mentioned, a charging circuit. You've got an indicator LED for that right there, but you can disable that as well. So a lot of the features on here are also designed for low power. So it's resilient in terms of not relying on the internet, nobody's cloud, no Wi-Fi, but also it'll keep its power if the power goes off, and you can make it super low power to be friendly to that. So you can disable the charging LED, you can disable the power LED. That's where some of these jumpers come in on the back. And you can also tell the battery to charge at 100 milliamps or 500 milliamps. You've also got a measuring jumper. I think if you cut that and then bridge a device in between, you can measure the current that the whole device is drawing. The shield, I believe, connects the ground plane of this board to a shield, but you can disable that as well. You've got different I2C connectors, and then I believe this is for the power LED. Lots of different ways to make your board / device lower power. Here is the MGM240p module, wireless module, that provides 802.15.4 mesh networking as well as Bluetooth, but the 802.50.4 is what you're going to be using 15.4 is what you're going to be using for the Matter protocol, because it's that or Wi-Fi/Ethernet. You've also got this Qwiic connector on here, Qwiic, and that is SparkFun's I2C solderless prototyping platform. So similar to Adafruit's Stemma QT and Seed's Grove line, similar also to DF Robot's Gravity line, things like that. And you've got USB-C on there. So let's dive into the website. Ooh, let's resize this so it's a little bit nicer to look at. Zoop. Okay. So here we have the product page. You can see that it runs you about $25 plus shipping, obviously. And there's a little bit more intro material about the MGM240p wireless module. You've got secure connectivity over Thread, as I mentioned, and BLE, although Matter is going to be using the Thread protocol in this case. And there's links to Silicon Labs' Matter information, which includes an FAQ sheet that I'm currently digging through. Matter is pretty new, and it hasn't been around as long as some other protocols, so I'm still getting used to the lay of the land on here. But there's this FAQ document, which I already downloaded, is compiled from a panel that they did, and they took everyone's questions and put them in this document. So you can check out what they said. So for example, the most exciting things about the Matter protocol: simplified device setup, significantly better reliability and latency since Matter is a local IP-based protocol, and improved security through standardization. Lots of security benefits here. And of course, the latency issue as well, since it's running on your local network over mesh or over Wi-Fi or Ethernet, it's going to be fast, which is lovely. The simplified device setup stuff is really interesting, and everyone that I've talked to who's building Matter devices is really hammering this home, that it's about making it easy for people to set up your new smart home devices without digging and wading through tons of different setup materials. So very excited about that part of it. You've got LiPo battery connectors. We already covered most of this. Oh yes, of course, there's also a micro SD card slot for any external memory needs. So if you're doing data logging, you can log data. So more reliability here. Not only does it expand the memory capacity, but also, just in case somehow you lose connectivity to a device, you can still keep logging and get that data later on, which is great. So in this case, they have also sent me a temperature sensor, which if I were to log temperature data out in the field, I'd be easily able to recover that on the micro SD card, even if I lost connectivity. Okay, so they've got a hookup guide for this board. The introduction is useful. The hardware overview I wanted to highlight here. They've got a little introduction to the wireless module, tells you a little bit more about it. Built around SiLabs EFR32MG24 wireless SoC that includes a 32-bit ARM Cortex-M33 core processor and an integrated 2.4 GHz radio, 1536 kilobytes flash memory, and 256 kilobytes of RAM, etc., etc. You can read through all of this. I was highly amused, actually, by the name of this debugger. I've never, maybe this is just like me not being as experienced as someone who's been a pro engineer in the field for a ton of time, but look at the name of this debugger. It's ridiculous. I've never seen one this long. Like maybe 7 or 8 characters is usually the max that you see, but EFM32GG12B410F1024GL120. And I thought about digging through this whole thing to figure out what all of those components mean in terms of this chip, but I did not do it. I'm sorry, you'll have to do that yourselves. But just wanted to call that out because wow. And it's the L120A. Okay. Anyway, lots of debugging, interesting stuff on here. You can see when you scroll down info about this Simplicity connector. The mini Simplicity connector allows users a quick and direct option to connect an external debugger to the board, such as a mini Simplicity debugger. And as mentioned before, you can only use that or the one or one connected to the TX-RX pins at a time, not both at the same time. There's more on here. They go through all the jumpers. They have 9 solder jumpers for user customization. We went through most of these, power LED, charge LED. Oh yeah, the I2C one. So this one ties SDA and SEL to 3.3 volts through a pair of resistors. You can open it to disable the pull-up resistors on those pins if you wanted to. You can isolate the USB-C shield pin from the ground, like we talked about. And then, yeah, you can force the debugger into low power mode, open for battery-powered applications where VUSB is present, etc., etc. Using a digital multimeter to measure the current draw. We talked about that. They've got more about the board dimensions. There's a whole page on SparkFun's Thing series. Let's see. Here we go, Thing Plus development boards. And you can learn more about their specifications for that. But there's also some on this page here. Built in. Hardware assembly, you basically just plug in the USB-C cable. But you could put in the headers. In this case, as I mentioned, let's go back to the box here because there's more in here. We've got the Thing Plus board. We've got a high precision temperature sensor, the 15805 board, and this is, let me not cut my headphone cable here. Ah! I deserved that. Okay. Quick temperature sensor board, TMP 117, and as you can see, it's got quick connectors on either side. You can daisy chain it with other Qwiic modules, and you use this little polar connector. So the cool thing about Qwiic is that you've got this connector, you can't plug it in the wrong way. And I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try, just in case. Yeah, it definitely doesn't let you do that. So we've got a bulgy bit up here. That seems to be the right way. What if I try to do it the wrong way? Does not go in. All right. We get the picture. And then you just plug in the other side to here. Boom, done. That's all the hardware assembly you need to do to hook up a temperature sensor. And then you've got a little USB-C cable. This one is USB-A to C. I've got a USB-C laptop, so I'm going to use this other one, which is C to C. Pardon. Ah. All right, so plug this in. And do we get LEDs? We get so many LEDs coming on. We've got a status LED. This is tied to a specific analog pin, I think A8 or A0. Maybe it's A0 because I don't see an A8 on here. All the pins, despite their labeling, can be analogs or GPIO pins, by the way. You've got debug LED on, and you've got power. And then if I grab daring to upset my pile of stuff over there. To grab a LiPo battery with a JST connector. Let's go with this little one. And they haven't, oh yeah, so I'm just gonna triple check which pin is which. Yes, we're positive and ground. And then our charge LED comes on. Beautiful. Tiny little battery, but we could put it into low power mode with all the features we're about to talk about. Let's take a look. So actually, I wanted to show you one more thing on here. Power, here we go. So, oh yes, later on in this tutorial, they have power consumption tips. Here we go. Power consumption by this board varies depending on how it's configured and powered, and they have a whole little breakdown on if you want to get the lowest power consumption out of this board. Here's how you do it. powering the board with a regulated 3.3 volt input directly to the 3.3 volt pin draws significantly less current as it bypasses the voltage regulator and battery charge / monitoring components. And then you also want to cut that power jumper. It's connected by default. You just cut that in order to disable the power LED, and then you've got the lowest power setup that you can have. All right, so you can go download and open Simplicity Studio. That is on the Silicon Labs website. You do have to, I think, log in order to download the installer. It's probably logged me out by now, so let's see. Maybe I'm still logged in. Anyway, Windows, Mac, and Linux. Beautiful. You've got a user guide there. Going back to the hookup guide, they show you the launcher that you'll get when you start up the software. Sometimes with Macs, you'll end up with some horrible stuff going on where it hates you with the security, and you'll have to like go into the security settings and say open it anyway, even though you hate it, Mac, for some reason. You don't have to do that with this. I didn't have to do it. I just had to say, yes, I'm certain that I want to open this thing that I just downloaded from the terrible, scary internet. And yeah, so it really wasn't painful in terms of installation, even though Mac can be a bit of a jerk about that sometimes. You get your launcher, and then you're going to add Thing Plus Matter, which may not show up as a USB device until you've set this up. So I went ahead and I hadn't opened up the device yet, so you can also search for the device in the Simplicity Studio. You can either search for a device in the list, or you can tell it to look for whatever you've got connected already. And so in this case, in the walkthrough, they're telling you to pick the connected devices option, but you can also hit all products, and I was able to find the Thing Plus Matter in the list anyway. Although they do mention that it may also show up as the J-Link Silicon Labs debugger, which it does seem to have done in their screenshot. I couldn't find that in the list of searching all products, so that may just be something that shows up when you connect it. There's all these options for installing stuff. Then you get the list of recommended quick start guides, and also general information, board and target part. And that's the Silicon Labs part that it's talking to. There's more documentation, etc. We've got a Blink example. Go into the example projects and demos tab. This hasn't loaded for me just yet because I think it's because I went through the manual install, searching from the list instead of going through the connected devices. So that's what I'm going to do after this video. I'm going to see if that shows up now. Maybe I'll do it real quick. Oh, so I got a pop-up in the Simplicity Studio interface that says install required packages. Like when I plugged this device in, it says this device inspector for EXX32 and EFM8 hardware is required to communicate with an attached USB adapter. Would you like to install it now? Yes, that's very convenient. I didn't even have to ask. Okay, so then new project, etc. You get a Blink bare metal folder and open up the example and load it. Then they've got troubleshooting, like I mentioned. They've got the power consumption tips there that are pretty interesting. And here's that part about how you may not get it to see it as a USB device by default, but you just go through the Simplicity Studio, and like I mentioned, it just asked me if I wanted to install the proper driver, so that's very cool. And then you can ask them for technical assistance. Resources and going further. I wanted to show you a little bit more about Matter as well, because that's, as I mentioned, it's pretty new. They open sourced the spec, I think, in like October of last year or last summer or something. They've got a page about it on Silicon Labs, including that FAQ that I mentioned. I'm kind of curious about what else is in this document, actually. Let's see. There's 8 pages. Diddly-do. How does it help ensure the security of IoT devices and also stay secure once it's already operating in your home? That's pretty cool. How will I be able to develop and certify Matter devices? And more such questions. Oh, what's the benefit of having it over Wi-Fi? There's a lot of stuff on the Matter pages about connecting it to other stuff. So For example, if you have stuff already running on your home network, talking to each other over Zigbee or Z-Wave, they'll be developing bridges that you can use to connect your Zigbee or Z-Wave devices to your Matter network. So even if something doesn't run on Thread or Wi-Fi or Ethernet, you'll be able to have a Matter bridge that connects all of those devices to your new Matter devices, and everything will be beautiful, ideally. We have, Mike has a tip about Mac apps. If it hasn't been signed and you want to force it to run, you can hold down Option while you double click it. Nice. That's good to know. Because sometimes like you'll accidentally exit out of that that dialogue, and then there's no open anyway option, and I forget. It's happened to me before. Don't let it happen to you. Listen to Mike. Okay, cool. So anyway, there's more in this FAQ. There's also the Connectivity Standards Alliance Matter page. These are the people who are the sort of overarching organization, a collaboration between a bunch of different organizations, including Silicon Labs, that are working together to make this protocol be a success. So you might be thinking of that XKCD cartoon where it's like, oh, we need, like, none of these standards talk to each other. We need one unified standard that everything will talk over. And then, you know, of course, flash forward a couple of panels and it's like, some new stuff comes out and then it's like, oh no, not everything talks to this unified standard. We need a new standard that like talks to all the, anyway, it's a good cartoon. You should look up XKCD, like standards comic, something like that. But since there are all these different organizations collaborating on this standard, it really is able to talk to, I saw a demo at CES with Nordic running some Apple and Google devices and other devices, more sort of DIY focused ones or prototyping focused ones or creating your own products. Even if you're not inside of Apple or Google, you can still connect to those with just a few clicks of buttons, and you can see more about the setup on the official CSA page. Interoperability is the name of the game. Reliability and security, of course. So lots of information there. Advantages for consumers, developers, and retailers, etc. Also, on the Silicon Labs page, I believe it is, yes, they've got this series of tech talks, Matter Technology Training. So if you go to that page, you can register, and they've got a link to, or a list of all the different sessions that are coming up. There's 2 that have already passed, and you can watch those on demand: Matter Evaluation to Certification and Certifying a Matter Device over Thread and Wi-Fi. Coming up in April, we've got Matter over Wi-Fi, like a getting started, which is exactly the kind of thing that people watching this video will probably be interested in. Starting your Matter development journey and what's new in Matter. I just realized that I need to scroll down there. And then you can tell them what you're interested in. Show up and ask them more questions. What else have we got? Simplicity Studio software. All these links are down in the description below. So if you want to check out any of these, just scroll down and click the link. SparkFun, a high precision temperature sensor. I don't think I'm going to try and get this working right now, but I will be exploring it. Thank you so much to Chris and Sean, by the way, for sending me both this board and the Qwiic cable and the Qwiic high precision temperature sensor. I'm very excited to get moving with that. There's also a general air quality sensor in the Qwiic ecosystem. So they've got 24 different environmental boards. I linked to this page below, but this is only one of many pages of Qwiic devices, Qwiic compatible sensors and inputs and outputs and stuff. You can see hats and shields and breakouts for different devices. I've got one for the microbit that connects it to Qwiic devices. You've got a Pi hat. You've got an extension for Raspberry Pi 400. So that's the one that's built into a keyboard and is a little bit weirder. Love it. All these different things, just tons of stuff that you can connect to the Qwiic ecosystem. So we've got this temperature sensor I'm going to be trying out, but also I'm really excited to get that air quality sensor online. I want to build a little companion robot with that. And the tech talks, and I think, yeah, that's that ridiculous security module. Is that what that is? It's just, it's impressive. It's an impressive module name. Okay, thank you so much for joining me on this journey. We've actually got a couple of other things in this box I should show you. We have a pen. And we have a sticker. So thank you, SparkFun, for the beautiful swag, as well as info on getting help and information about the Quick Connect system. Just go to sparkfun.com/QWIIC. I can't wait to play around with this. Matter is such a big thing now. Like, everyone's talking about it. And I think with good reason. They have really good aims with this new standard. I think it's going to be really promising. I've already seen some really impressive demos with it from a bunch of different companies. Infineon, Nordic, obviously Silicon Labs and SparkFun. All kinds of stuff coming out with this. And Apple and Google all already in the ecosystem. So thanks again for watching. Thank you to SparkFun for sending these over. And as always, hack on.